Hey guys, what's up? It is week 386. I got a bunch of reviews and a small update for you. Let's hop into this. The first one up is from 88 Films, and this is the 4K collection of the Project A films, Part 1 and Part 2. Let's talk about Part 1 first. This is made in 1985, starring Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yuen. Hopefully I said his name right. This guy, Yuen, is in like Dreadnought. I believe he's in Dreadnought. He's in a million of these movies. Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Biao were in Dragons Forever. They were in a bunch of movies together, and they have great chemistry. So this is a period piece, 19th century here, and there's definitely some there's possibly some political stuff big time in here, like pro-China stuff kind of going at the point. Well, this is, Britain and Hong Kong, all that kind of stuff is going on, and there's pirates everywhere. So this is a period like 1800s, late 1800s. And Jackie Chan is like a sergeant, I believe, and they wouldn't be sergeant, but he's the water police is what they call him. His kind of competitor is the land guys, the just regular police. And they, in the very beginning of the movie, there's this great scene where Jackie Chan's trying to be patient, and Biao and him get into it, and they're like factions start fighting, this elaborate great bar fight and everything like that. Eventually they disband the water police, and they have to team up and work together. There's some training montages and stuff, them interacting with each other. The fight scenes are all amazing. These two, like I said, have great chemistry. And then there's a third kind of actor who everybody loves pops up in this movie. Is Sammo Hung, and he has a past with Jackie Chan. He's a thief, and they used to work together. They were friends, and Sammo Hung is absolutely fucking hilarious in this movie. What happens is, of course, they're all going to kind of join forces, and as it progresses, it gets crazier and crazier. There's an amazing scene. There's a group of bad guys, of course, that are kind of working with these pirates. The pirates are kind of like pillaging everything, taking all these things from the boats and everything, and they kidnap kind of a higher up kind of admiral, I believe, from the UK. So what happens is they want to broker a deal with somebody in Hong Kong who's actually a known criminal. Jackie Chan obviously doesn't want to do this. The water police are disbanded, but he wants to go in there and try to save the day and take care of everything like that. So what happens is this giant, elaborate, amazing kind of battle at the end with pirates and explosions. Now, at first, there's a lot of goons chasing Jackie Chan. Some of them are very familiar. There's a great scene where he basically does not listen to his commanding officer and proves him to be an idiot, and that's kind of when he goes AWOL. There's a lot of great stuff in here. Jackie's got tons of charisma. At the very end of the movie, the main pirate, he's a badass. He's awesome. Jackie Chan gets in disguise. So this is very much an adventure film, not a straight up action. There's tons of action in here, but there's all these different kind of set pieces and big elaborate moments. Like you see these scenes up at the clock tower, which is a great scene, and you're like, that probably took a week to shoot. Jackie Chan does a lot of his own stunts, and the credits you see him falling and all sorts of crazy shit. Regardless, the movie is just amazing in terms of stunts and in terms of acting. Sammo Hung is probably my favorite martial artist. Watching him, he does a lot of horror and comedy and stuff and mixes all that stuff in here. He's just absolutely hilarious, and he's really good as well. Not as good as Jackie Chan, but he's got a unique quality about him, which a lot of the other guys don't have. He's big and he can move. Biao and Chan are much quicker, so that they play into it really well. So at the very end of the movie, they all face off against this pirate, and they all have a go at him. And when Sammo Hung squares up, it's so awesome. It's just I'm like dorking out on it, but it's just a tremendous movie. It looks fantastic in 4K. It looks darker and grittier. Not super gritty. I'm not saying there's a bunch of bad specs and everything on there. And they cleaned it up. It looks great. It's a 1985 movie, so it looks as it should. Like crisp. But yeah, it has some grain on it. It's a darker film. It's not all blued out and, a crappy DNR mess or something like that. It's a spectacular 4K. It's got great, I think it has Atmos sound. I remember the sound being great. Atmos, yes, spectacular sound. And there's tons of special features on here. There's a 4K and then there's a Blu-ray as well. So as far as the special features, of course, we have two cuts of the movie. We have the Hong Kong cut and the extended Taiwanese cut. One is 106 and one is 115. Original negatives, of course, both of them in HDR and HDR10 compatible. Cantonese and Mandarin language with mono newly translated subs. English mono as well. And then commentary by Frank Chin. on the Hong Kong cut, and then new interview with Jackie Chan's best stunt double, Mars Chen, Dancing with Danger, interview with stunt god Mars, Master Killer, interview with Grandmaster Li Hoi San, and the Elusive Dragon, interview with Yue Biao, the Pirates Den, interview with Dick Wei, Can't Stop the Music, interview with composer Michael Lay, New Project Collector with Paul Dre, Plan B writer editor Edward Tang on Project A, outtakes, Japanese version ending, the making of Project A, Lunar New Year introduction manner with English subtitles, Hong Kong trailer, English trailer, stills gallery, double-sided artwork featuring new art by Kung Fu Bob O'Brien, and original Hong Kong poster. Absolutely adored this fucking movie. It was like almost an instant classic for me. I know that I've seen a lot of the horror movies, but I've seen a handful of Jackie Chan movies, and he just obviously continues to amaze me. This movie is vastly entertaining. It's big, it's scaling, it's an adventure romp. There's just so much good stuff, so many good characters. There's like a character called Big Mouth, and this other guy just always around Jackie. They're funny. There's a lot of like comedy of errors with everybody. Just a great release of Project A. Okay, we're going to move into the second one. Project A Part 2, made a few years later, of course. Yes, great title on that. But yeah, so unfortunately, Sammo Hung does not return, either does Biao. And this is, both the films are directed by Jackie Chan as well, which is also an amazing feat. There's two different cuts on here as well. So I watched the longer cut. So, okay, Jackie Chan has now, there's this kind of place that is being run by this one guy, and they really don't like how he's handling it. He's a police officer. He's a little corrupt. He kind of rules with iron fist. I think he's kind of corrupt. So, like, who could clean this place up? It's riddled with criminals. They seem to run wild. So they send Jackie in there to run one part of this guy's work. They call him like the three. I can't remember, 3 rings or something like that he runs. So Jackie comes in and he starts to run one place. He brings a couple of his buddies with him, Big Mouth and a couple other guys from the first film, and right away he realizes there's major corruption. There's a bunch of character actors you recognize in all these Asian movies. So what he does is he goes in and he sees who's going to help him, who's going to be on his side. One of the young guys actually seems like he's an honest cop. So he takes him in and they go to like the big gambling den with the main criminal there. And there's this giant fight scene and he realizes who's on his side. He comes out on top due to some help from some people. And after that he realizes the corruption goes up really high. So this one is more convoluted than the first one. The first one is much more straightforward, even though it's an adventurous, crazy movie and very fun. This one is also very fun, but I'm missing Sammo Hung and Biao in here. But the pirates from the first film that feel wronged by Jackie Chan end up going to the mainland to try to get back at him, and like kind of like the comedy characters, the goofy characters in here. All at the same time, there's some revolutionaries that want to prevail for China, have it ran Hong Kong and all the territories run by China and everything like that. If that's my understanding. And at the same time, there is the police chiefs and stuff like that. Jackie Chan's being set up by this corrupt officer. All sorts of crazy shit like that. There's a great scene where Jackie Chan, there's a lot of handcuff play in here. Jackie Chan is handcuffed to this guy and the pirates are chasing him, so they have to work together with the handcuffs. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, this one is a really fun film. I prefer the first one, but this one is not just as good, but really good as well. I don't think it has as the ending's not quite as big. There's an elaborate dance scene and heist stuff in here. Again, another top-notch kind of adventure film, a little bit more convoluted, more characters, but still a lot going on, keeps you interested, a lot of fun characters. This guy on the front here, he's barely in the movie, so he's on the cover, I don't know why. But, so essentially what we have here is the 107 cut, 4K, with Atmos as well, and then we have the export 98-minute version, and original negatives, okay, all that. Then we have Cantonese and Mondo, Dolby Atmos, and Mandarin. We have tons of like 4 or 5 different language choices. Then we have audio commentary by Frank Jin and FJ DeSanto, and then we also have new interview with Anthony Carpio, the Big Boss interview with Chen-Hwa Man, Someone Will Know Me, 1988 documentary focusing on 3 members of Jackie Chan's stunt team, Japanese ending, full screen Jackie Chan recording session, Hong Kong trailer, export trailer, Tai Sung trailer, still galleries, double artwork featuring new art by Kung Fu Bob O'Brien, and original HK poster. All these are ABC, so they're region free on the Blu-rays, and of course region 4Ks are region free as well. 2 films directed and starring Jackie Chan that are awesome, highly recommended. Also comes with this cool ass booklet, nice thick booklet with lots of behind the scenes pictures and everything like that, and it has cards in there, a poster, so it's a stack release. Looks great, nice hard box here. I know how everybody loves to hear them things when they get hit, but great release of 2 great movies, vastly enjoyable, just all around good fun. Okay, the next one is from Eureka Films, and this is two wild-ass movies, two Taoist tales. First up is the Taoist Drunkard. Now, there's a series of these movies that are loosely related. Miracle Fighters, which Eureka, I think, put out as well, that I covered. Very fun, kind of cool movie. So let's hop into the first one here, and there's a fourth one as well that's not included in here. This is the Taoist Drunkard from 1984. So this kind of has like two storylines that go into one. We have this kind of old man who's kind of weird and bizarre, and he ends up breaking this old classic temple statue. So they're like, well, you need to get a cherry boy to fix it. A cherry boy is a male virgin, of course. The term cherry boy is very unpleasant when you watch the English version. There's multiple ways to watch this in language and everything, a couple commentaries. So he goes out and tries to find this young man, virgin of course. Meanwhile, this guy is like training constantly, the guy he got his eyes on, and learning from his grandmother, who actually is in Miracle Fighters as well, playing a very similar character as the one in this movie. So he's training, and they have this whole elaborate thing where they have to protect this ancient writ, and there's a lot of things to go through, including like this steel canister watermelon thing that's very goofy and funny that he has to stop and get through. But there is this evil guy that wants the writ as well for ultimate power. So these two kind of storylines mix up. It gets really goofy, really silly, really all over the place. These movies are so incoherent at times and goofy that I'm just like, I don't know where the hell we are, what the hell is going on. I remember Miracle Fighters being a little bit more easy to understand, but the Taoist, I mix them up, the Taoist Drunkard is goofy and silly. The old man is a drunkard. I enjoy it for the most part. I think it's entertaining, but I can't really pull away much from this except the martial arts is goofy. There's a lot of weird characters jumping in and out. Both movies kind of bleed together because they are very similar and have a lot of the same actors and filmmakers and everything like that. As far as the special features are concerned, we have both films presented in HD, original Cantonese audio and optional English dubs. Optional English subtitles, newly transferred release, brand new audio commentaries on both films by East Asian film expert Frank Jin, and brand new audio commentaries on both films by action cinema experts Michael Leader and Army Vinema. I always have trouble saying his name, Vinema. Brand new interviews with filmmaker and critics James Munch, trailers, reversible sleeve work by Darren Wheeling, plus a limited edition collector's booklet featuring new writings on both films by Spooky Encounters author Donald O'Brien and Southeast Asian horror expert Katara Ankuta. So this movie is weird. These are both really kind of going to be very acquired taste. If you're not into weird comedy kung fu that has kind of fantastical elements, skip this one. But the Taoist Drunkard, I think it's worth it. It's entertaining, it's goofy, it's silly. If you like the stuff, then grab it. Okay, the next one is The Young Taoist Fighter. And I believe this movie is even more bonkers and weirder and probably harder to follow. There's more characters, I would say. So what happens is we have this evil ancient lord who's trying to steal everyone's power. In the very beginning, he's like killing people here and there. He's manipulated everyone. He's poisoned a bunch of people, and he only has the antidote, and he's having him carry out his bidding. He has a couple guys that are his main henchmen. Here's one of them. Is there any on the cover here? There's like 3 or 4 of them. They're all kind of dressed in real wild ways. Yeah, this is a super bizarre film. I don't even know how to go about it, except that essentially there's like goons always trying to attack the main characters in here. A lot of goofy fun. This movie to me bleeds in with the other one. There's this strange whole dynamic where the character kind of separates from his body and is like spirits out there, and it's like fighting him and shrinking down to size. And it reminds me straight out of Army of Darkness, how Bruce Campbell's fighting with the little mini versions of Ash. Very similar. He also is like banished to this weird kind of place where there's like a talking turtles, and there's a lot of goofy gags with the turtle spinning around, and there's a kind of a love interest and everything like that. At one point in the movie, he's like being trained, but he's just terrible and he's not very good, and he keeps bringing all these like evil to the temple, so they keep trying to ban him, but like one of the guys is taking sympathy on him and gives him all his powers to stand up against the main villain. Yeah, there's a lot of double crossing amongst bad guys and stuff like that. Overall, the young Taoist fighter isn't amazing. It's my least favorite out of the 3 I've seen, but I did enjoy it. The end's great when they get all the bad guys come in and there's a bunch of square ups and the heroes have to fight against them and everything like that. But overall, this is a nice release. It's not my favorite that Eureka put out, but if you like it, it's very acquired. Like I said, it's goofy, silly, fun. Yeah, I'm glad they're both in here together. I would like to see the 4th one just to kind of finish everything out. But yeah, this is the Taoist Tales, 2 movies, the Taoist Drunkard and the Young Taoist Fighter. There we go. Okay, next up is from Cult Epics, and we have a 4K here by Tinto Brass with the new Caligula cut coming out. Cult Epics has been putting out some of his movies on 4K, which is really cool. So we have Cheeky. I've covered a couple of Tinto Brass's movies. I really like Caligula. I'm looking forward to the new release. And, I've seen like Snack Bar Budapest. And what was the other one that came out not too long ago on 4K? And it looked All Ladies Do It. That was a fun one from the 90s. This one is from 2000. And this is Cheeky. So this is kind of like, I think, his last maybe theatrical kind of film. There is a good commentary on here by Eugenio Ercolani. And, of course, Nathaniel Thompson. They do a very good job here. So Cheeky. This is very Tinto Brass, but this is like, I think, the most exploitative of his movies. More so than Tinto Brass, P.O. Box. Maybe it's close to that, but this is the most butthole he's ever had in his movies. I mean, of course, he's obsessed with the, the female posterior and all that kind of stuff, but usually there's rare to see like open ass in movies, but yeah, and without being a straight porno, and this is kind of here. This is very softcore. What we have here is this girl who's moving to, where's she vacationing at? She had, I can't remember exactly where she's at, but the location's beautiful. Of course, they make you do that. And the boyfriend's back in Italy, I believe, and he starts to get mad, jealous. His friend's kind of filling his head with ideas. But, what happens is his girlfriend calls him and says, hey, can you pick up some butterfly underwear, even though she rarely wears them because she's mildly allergic to underwear. And, some other things, and bring them to me. He goes there, but he finds this love letter to this French guy when she was on vacation and this picture, and he gets ultra jealous and angry. And they start to have fighting through, long-distance fighting. And she moves into this apartment, but she gets a great deal because, the person who gives it to her is a lesbian and has a thing for her and basically forces herself on her and everything like that. So takes her to a party where she sleeps around and all these kind of things like that. Of course, there's, some anal sex in there. And, it's not, the sex isn't really gratuitous. There's some fake dicks in here and everything. Fake erect dicks, regular, normal, a foul, non-hard dicks or anything like that. So there's that. But, a lot of the times there's just these scenes that linger on her forever. Like, she goes and gets a massage and they're just, zooming in on her ass while the guy's, basically spreading. You're like, okay, I got it. Very softcore, but, you kind of have that same kind of deal with All Ladies Do It, right? Where the guy realizes, he's got to share, or just people kind of have to be free to do what they want sexually. This one is more kind of the jealousy, and they kind of hint that, without jealousy, without that, that jealousy and almost like possessiveness, there's not worth having. The sex or anything like that is not as strong. Almost like it's a great sex drive. It's a bizarre thing. There's one point where he's in the film and she goes get these photos developed and he starts, fingering her right there. So it just all seems a little dirtier than a lot of his other movies, when he's partaking. Well, Tinto Brass, P.O. Box, P.O. Box, Tinto Brass, he also partakes. It always gets a little weirder. There was that one artsploitation film where this filmmaker used to make exploitation as exploitation films, and this movie, which came out later in his career, of course 2010 or something, and he's partaking and sleeping with all these prostitutes, and he's like, what I'm doing is very brave, and you're just like, okay man, sure it is. Now this one is not that. This isn't a film. It's beautifully shot, really, in a lot of ways. The music is great. The 4K looks excellent. And his movies are really, different. His early stuff is different from his later stuff for sure. And I do like that he pushes the envelope. There's very rare that you're going to see something that's beautifully shot with explicit nudity and sexual stuff in there. So there's that. Overall, I don't hate this. I mean, it has a lot of the themes as All Ladies Do It. It's just not as good, I don't think. It's not as interesting to me. But I did enjoy it, I guess. I don't hate it. I mean, there's tons of nudity and stuff. It does get to that point, like some of the Emmanuel movies, when you see Laura Gemser naked for like 4 hours. You're like, it might be sexier if she's actually wearing clothes, which is weird to say, but, sometimes it is. So what we have here is the special features. We have 4K transfer from original negative, audio commentary, of course, by Ercolani and Nathaniel Thompson, and then the Blu-ray only, we have backstage of Tinto Brass, interview with cinematographer Massimo Del Venianzo, isolated score by Pino Donaggio, who's an excellent, of course, and then, yeah, we have a 20-page illustrated booklet with essay by Ercolani and Montanelli. Yeah, and we have some repro Italian lobby card prints. So, yeah, pretty good movie for if you're into this thing in English and Italian. It looks great in 4K, if that's your deal. I mean, I know these movies, to me when early 2000s, late 90s, I would see like Tinto Brass movies and like the cult stuff when I was like in my teens, and I'd be like, what are those? Or like Tokyo Decadence, and I'd be like, those look a little spicy and stuff. You're obviously interested when you're like a 13, 14-year-old kid, and then eventually watching Tinto Brass movies like 20 years later, so 25 years later. But yeah, I'm glad I'm finally getting into them. But cheeky, looks great in 4K. It's cool to see these movies getting the 4K treatment. And it's funny though that sometimes like a lot of the big movies don't, but this is what cinephiles collect the craziest movies, and this is what they're looking for. Okay, next up is The Last Circus. Decided to revisit this one by Álex de la Iglesia, who did stuff like Ashumutante, Day of the Beast, Parida Durango. Great films. He's a great director. The Last Circus, what is this, 2013, 2011, man? 2010. 14 years old. So, it's been a long time since I watched this. It does have some familiars you guys would have seen from his movies. Some that are in Witchin' and Bitchin'. Of course, from Day of the Beast. The Metalhead is in here. He's got a great role. So this is a period piece taking place during World War II, kind of with Spain, being overtaken by the fascist government. In the very beginning of the movie, our main character is a young boy, and he's at a circus watching his father perform, who's a clown, and they break in and they tell him, everybody who can fight, get in this war. We're going to fight against these people who are overtaking the government, yada, yada, yada. So everybody runs out there, and they give his father a machete, which is one of the great lines in here. He says, what do I get, a gun? Or he's like, it's going to scare the shit out of him, a clown with a machete, or something along those lines. They go out in this elaborate, great fight scene, a war scene, crazy stuff. His father is captured and put in prison. Years go by, and he grows up, and his father's in there as a war prisoner, and the war's over, but still he's going to die in there. And his father says, you must be a sad clown when you grow up. I was a happy clown, but you've had such a tragic life. The only way to get out of being a sad clown is revenge. He gives him the whole, Red Dawn treatment. Avenge me! Harry Dean Stanton behind those gates. He says, and this is the guy from the Metalhead from Day of the Beast, he says, revenge! His father is absolutely crazy, great performance. So as he grows up, he becomes a sad clown. He goes to the circus, and right away this woman catches his eye, this trapeze I can't say that word now, trapeze artist, and but she is in a relationship with the happy clown, who's anything but. He's a very violent and angry person. He's wonderful with children, though. The children love him. He's the the headliner of the circus, brings in all the money, and there's a bunch of other kind of side characters that are really funny. One of the guys, the daredevil, he's actually always crashing, and the guy who's always trying to like kind of smooth things over, or the owner is always kind of stressed out. And then we have like the cockeyed guy and his wife. The cockeyed guy's in Witching and Bitching. He's great in here. He's got a really great moment too. So what happens is this strange love triangle between the trapeze artist and our sad clown and our happy clown, and there's a lot of craziness and a lot of violence, and there's just great things about it, about the the difference between laughter and sadness, and there's not that much difference, but it basically is an epic movie where these characters come back from the past who are in that war. They're after the young man, and he completely loses his mind. They both become these monsters, physical monsters, mental monsters, crazy people, and everything like that. And she's such an odd character. She's that character that she almost seems to enjoy the abuse or be caught into it or can't say no to it and everything like that. But it ends in the most like crazy moment. Álex de la Iglesia always used heights really well. If you watch something like Day of the Beast, when they're like staggering on the heights, it's terrifying. And they use that really well here. The end is this cross that his father helped build when he was enslaved after the war. And that's where the climax of the film happens. And there's the then scene where everybody's like laughing and screaming and crying. And you're like, oh, what's the difference between laughter and tears? And, you can't really tell sometimes, but it's an excellent movie, excellently acted. There's some CGI that didn't date well, but for the most part, the special effects are pretty solid. The acting is amazing. Everybody in here is tremendous. The script is great. The story is great. I love everybody in here. It's got balls. Álex de la Iglesia makes wonderful movies. He's one of the best directors around, hands down. And The Last Circus is an excellent film. If anybody's not seen this one, love these characters in here. The three main characters are excellent. But this is from Magnet Films, and the special features include making of Last Circus, behind the scenes segments, visual effects, US trailer, international teaser, international trailer. Great stuff, The Last Circus. Okay, the next one up here is from James L. Edwards. This is his third directorial film. He was an actor for years and years and years in a bunch of tempy stuff and other films, kind of retired, and he's come back. And he directed 3 films. Her Name is Krista, Brimstone Incorporated, and Trivial. So Trivial is a lot of fun. It has kind of a lot of familiar faces for indie actors in Ohio. It has Sasha Graham, who is in Polymorph and a slew of other kind of indie movies from back in the day. James L. Edwards is in it himself. I can never say Drew's name correctly, but he's actually directed a film himself. I can't think. It's called Dwellers, and he's also in a bunch of movies. Drew Fournier. It's French, I believe. Maybe I'm just pronouncing it terribly wrong. Timothy Noventy is in here. Who else pops up in here? There's just a lot of familiar faces. There's cameos by George Stover and Jeff Berkman, so a lot of Ohio regulars and everything like that. So James L. Edwards is a smart guy how he makes this movie. So essentially it's very limited cast, very limited locations, and it's a game of death movie. Some people are like, oh, it's torture porn. Not exactly. It's more of a game of death story. So what happens is also Adam Clevenger is in here, great guy. They wake up, these two guys, and they're tied to this chair. They're staring at each other, and Sasha Graham comes in and basically tells them, listen, you're going to play this game. You get a question wrong, you die. And you get a question right, you move on, and you keep going through these things. And of course, the characters are all different, and we reveal who they are as it progresses. Very simple story, but very effective and very entertaining. There's a lot of trivial stuff, and it's very funny. And James L. Edwards is, he plays a really sarcastic character a lot, and he's really good at that kind of stuff. Have you ever seen like Polymorph or anything like that? He's just got a really sarcastic bend to him. Always enjoyed his acting. He's got a good, kind of delivery and everything. Fantastic in bloodletting. And there's a little bloodletting shout out in this as well. But what happens is, these characters are tortured, people are killed, people survive, and we even have some revelations about our lead, character who's running the show. And you kind of realize anybody that's willing to do this has got to have some problems, some maybe home life problems, issues, all that kind of stuff like this. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. The special effects are minimal. They're not amazing. They're not, your big elaborate gore pieces. They're not, something like, Dead Alive or something like that. There's a lot of slashes on the face, but they're effective for what they are. It's a dark movie, but also very funny at the same time. Well made, well shot. It kind of has these slide-ins of old television shows and game show hosts and all that kind of stuff like that, where you have that kind of quirky kind of basically, back and forth. You have these horrible acts that are happening to these people, and then you have this cheesy kind of 50s quality, like, that's a great thing, kid. All that kind of stuff like that. So it's definitely doing that, where it has these horrible things and these sweet kind of bullshit, stuff in between, back and forth. Overall, I like this. It's good stuff. It's entertaining. And as it progresses, you see Sasha Graham kind of lose her mind more and more, and you see more revelations. I really like the acting in here. I think everybody does a good job. There's an alcoholic character in this film. And at first he's like, he's overconfident, everything like that. And then when the shit hits the fan, almost immediately, he just crumbles. And you're like, yeah, that seems to make sense with, somebody, an alcoholic character like that and everything like that. As far as the special features are concerned, we have audio commentary, deleted scenes, alternate opening, original ending, blooper reels, and trailers. James L. Edwards' character at first seems like a cartoon because the shirt he's wearing and the fro and everything. You're like, what the hell's going on? And then, as it progresses, he becomes more and more human. And his response to his, kind of background when she says, let's tell the truth, and he's just like, it doesn't matter what I say, and you're like, he's right in that way, but at the same time you think maybe he is that way, so you're like, oh, this is fucked up. Anyways, trivial, great stuff, really enjoyed it. I don't watch as many indie movies anymore. I know it's kind of shitty, but I've been a fan of James L. Edwards since I was 12 years old, and Tempe and all those kind of people like that. So it's very nostalgic. It's very sweet spot for me, and I'm glad they're still making movies. I'm glad they're still in movies and everything like that. And a lot of the people I used to, watch a lot of this stuff. Brian Paulin's still out there doing shit. Fred Vogel, puts out a movie every once in a while. So it's like there's certain directors that I'm going to follow until it's over, and forever until I'm done or they're done, whatever it is. But yeah, Trivial. I enjoyed it. Good stuff. Good job, James. I appreciate it, Mr. Edwards. You'll be on the show again, I'm sure, when we were talking about, I think, Eating Raoul from 1982. So, yeah. Next one here is another film directed by J.R. Bookwalter, who hasn't directed a movie in a very, very long time. It has to be like one of the Witch House movies is the last one he directed. But this is Side Effects May Vary. Obviously, very much of the time with COVID and all that shit like that. But, yeah, this is a Tempe flick, which makes me very happy. And this is very much like Incredible Melting Man. I know James L. Edwards wrote it, and he also stars in it. And also has Tina Krause in here, Sasha Graham's in here, Floyd Ewing Jr. is in here, Drew, again, from the last film is in here. Am I missing anyone? Oh, Brink Stevens. So it's got a nice cast here. A lot of Tempe regulars or people that popped up in Tempe movies. Tina Kraus was in all those kind of, what was those movies, like the Wave productions, but she's also in Bloodletting. Sasha Graham's in Polymorph. She's in the Trivial movie I just talked about. James L. Edwards is in all the movies like that. Floyd Ewing Jr. was in, of course, Dead Next Door and Robot Ninja and Skinned Alive. He was always wearing that t-shirt that said boycott Jane Fonda, American bitch, or something like that. So it was really great seeing a lot of these actors come back and be in these movies, I'm going to be honest. And I've seen Tina Kraus around and been in stuff like that, and so it was nice. And Sasha Graham and James L. Edwards, but I was like, I haven't seen Floyd Ewing Jr. in something in forever, and it was really cool to see him pop up in here. So this is a fun movie. This is my kind of jam. I like these kind of contamination, virus spreading kind of films. And in the very beginning, James L. Edwards is homesick, and Tina Kraus is his wife, and she's walking through, and she sees Brink Stevens. It's a funny cameo, not a cameo, but funny character. Brink Stevens, very funny. She's like a peeping Tom, which is so always relegated to like the male character. So it's funny. That's just the reverse kind of deal. So what happens is she kind of guilts him into going and getting this like kind of COVID shot when he's sick. So they give him this like experimental COVID shot, which we know is no good, this vaccine, right? Because we saw in the earlier beginning somebody fucking exploded. So yeah, what happens is at first he feels fucking amazing, and then after that, he starts to feel bad. He starts to go crazy, and a bunch of people start ending up dead. He's on the run, and we have Drew, who's his best friend, who's a private eye, used to be a police officer, and Floyd, who is the sheriff, and they have some kind of relationship. Used to be kind of buddy, maybe more, who knows. But anyways, they kind of join sides, and they're following his kind of like havoc and chaos as he runs around the city, kind of killing and mutilating everybody like that. We have a bunch of characters pop in and all that kind of stuff like that. But James L. Edwards throughout the entire movie is just more melty. It's definitely the Incredible Melting Man. He's kind of melting as it progresses, dying like iZombie or something along those lines. But he's good in it. Everybody's good in it. There is a sex scene between Tina Kraus and James L. Edwards, and they're both like middle-aged. And I gotta say this, I'm kind of happy to see that. As I get older, as everybody gets older, we're always constantly getting older. The minute we're born, the minute we're dying. So, and you're so used to seeing 20, 25-year-olds having sex in movies. It's like, it's nice to see middle-aged people have sex, and it's just like I kind of was like, that's nice. And there's like nudity for middle-aged people. I was like, yeah. Because, it's starting to look, more like I am looking. So I'm like, yeah, Tina Kraus still got it. Say that. I always liked her. I always loved her in Bloodletting and stuff like that. And the Wave movie, she's always the best part. One of the best parts of those movies, for sure. But, yeah, they do a good job. And there's a great kind of... it is a love story in one way, but there's also a surprise love story, and I caught myself laughing quite a bit because Floyd Ewing Jr. is the kind of response, and his demeanor and acting and stuff, he's just really funny in that moment. But everybody's good in it. It's a downbeat kind of movie, and it ends great in a chair. It's just a little fun melt movie, and we don't get too many melt movies, if you're thinking street trash, body melt, which, I never loved body melt. It's been a long time since I watched, never loved it, but Incredible Melting Man and street trash, melt movies are pretty cool. A lot of movies have meltdowns, but yeah, this one's a lot of fun. Side effects may vary. As far as the special features on here, we have director's cut feature and 69 widescreen, 5.1 surround sound and Dolby Digital. The surround sound's great. It worked really well on my surround system. Audio commentary, J.R. Bookwalter, Roadhouse opening night Q&A at Harris, the theater in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with director J.R. Bookwalter, writer star James L. Edwards, and star Floyd Ewing Jr., moderated by Art Ediger, good guy, of Ultraviolet Magazine. Theatrical roadshow teaser trailer, theatrical trailer, optional English subtitles. Overall, a very fun movie. Recommended. 80 minutes, 81 minutes, so it gets in and out and doesn't waste your fucking time. J.R. Bookwalter's always been an ambitious director, and he still keeps delivering. And it's like, you know what? I was happy to see this one. Still got it. Still making cool movies. Okay, we're going to talk about some 2024 movies. I know I've been slacking on new movies. Maybe I'm going to do a list at the end of the year, but the first one is I Saw the TV Glow. This is directed by the person who did We're All Going to the World's Fair. Can't think. Jane something. So I saw her first movie, and I thought it was pretty solid, pretty good movie. And more interesting in kind of the themes and messages more so than the story, even though the story ties into that. But this one, I Saw the TV Glow. And this is very much a nostalgia piece for me because it takes place, I imagine, in the 90s, and there's this show called The Pinko Peg, and there's this kind of loner kind of kid who feels out of his place, out of no friends or anything like that, kind of feels like he's from a family where his father doesn't say much of anything, and his mother is just kind of taking care of him and everything, and seems kind of almost like a battered wife, although you never see that. And he kind of sees this girl reading this book called The Pinko Peg, which he's always been interested in. It's kind of a show maybe aimed at girls at the time, and she's reading this episode guide when they're after school. He's a couple years younger. He ends up reaching out to her and saying, hey, what's that show about? And they become these kind of strange, kind of distant friends, where one day he goes over there and watches the Pinko Peg, skips school, lies to his parents and goes over there and everything like that. And he becomes kind of infatuated with this show and this relationship with this girl that, it's the only relationship he has. As he gets older and everything like that, we jump through time. And they become kind of like these friends, and they share this bond over this show and everything like that. She records these tapes for him, and he's completely infatuated, obsessed with it. And he goes through a lot of tragedies in his life as he goes on. And as progresses, and we see him as an adult, he comes back into her life, and he starts to tell her about this show is not as we remembered. It's not the same thing. And it's like that idea that memories and things that are not what they appear to be in remembrance or anything like that are kind of scary. Misremembering things as they are is just a very unsettling thing, and it kind of reminds you of somebody coming into your life that may be possibly schizophrenic, and it's just very scary and dangerous. But at the same time, she ran away from this world. She ran away from this place that she was once at, and now he stayed there. And because he was scared to ever do anything, he's always been terrified to do anything. And as we go on, like we hit this point where it moves forward, and there is a couple horror scenes involving the TV show, which I don't want to spoil. But really, the movie feels a lot about self-realization, self-examination, kind of being conformed and being regretful and staying in these places where maybe you feel trapped. And there's parts in the film where the character says, "Do you like girls?" He says, "I don't know. Do you like boys?" "I like TV shows." And you're just like, it's just somebody who has not discovered themselves, and they said they're scared to open themselves up, and that plays directly into the ending of the film. And it's haunting. At the very end of the film, when the character has the panic attack, and you see how they feel on the outside, but everyone else is just going about their business. And oh man, this movie, I thought it was great. I don't know how horror it is. I think that the feelings and the realizations are very horrific and very sad and depressing, and it got me thinking, and it got me, kind of distraught, honestly, in a way that you follow your dreams only to a certain extent, and then you kind of give up on that, and you end up in your own kind of way. You kind of settle where you're at. Not that people that you settle with, or not that your life is that bad, but you always constantly think, did I go further? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Am I who I am? Am I true to myself? And all this kind of stuff like that. Should I live that dangerous kind of crazy life, which I think may be more true to a part of my body or life that I didn't? Or should I have just played it the safe route? And, you only get one life and everything like that, determining on what people believe. But it's just one of these movies where you definitely feel trapped, and you definitely feel really bad for this person. And I caught myself feeling incredibly sad. Amazing performance by the lead. I'm sorry. And I was just like, oh my God. Oh man, I feel so bad. I felt so bad. I saw The TV Glow was an excellent movie for me. I think anybody that's been through it or has made a lot of these questions, or maybe had some traumatic life experiences or anything like that when they should have and stuff, or anything like that, I think that they can relate. I think they can get behind this movie. I think they can understand this movie. If you're looking for something like a crazy kind of horror movie, like, what was the film, Broadcast Signal Intrusion or something like that, which I love, it's not that. It's not that movie. It is kind of weird, kind of creepy pasta memory of old TV show kind of deals and stuff like that. But and that is creepy and weird and kind of unnerving, or perturbing, or whatever you want to say. But I think it's more about the character and more about what this character sees and feels and all that kind of stuff like this. But I saw The TV Glow. I really enjoyed this. Okay, the next one up, I imagine, is Canadian co-production, is We Are the Zombies by the directors, three directors who did Turbo Kid and what was the other one with the kids on the bikes, which I am not a huge fan of, and a lot of people really do enjoy it. I preferred Super Dark Times of that year. I can't think of the movie for some reason. But yeah, this is their third film that they directed, feature length, and We Are the Zombies. So zombies, there's been a lot of movies that kind of take the zombie genre and flip it on its head. It's a great genre to do it with, and there's a lot of original cool zombie movie takes. So this one basically follows the story of, the dead people are no longer dying, and they're not flesh-eating zombies. They don't spread the virus. They're kind of just something on society that people really don't want around. They're taking jobs, they're getting in the way, they're getting in accidents, they're coming home, they refuse to leave, and there's this kind of big corporation that comes around. They basically euthanize the zombies and do experiments and stuff like that. But there's a couple kind of losers who and one of the losers' sisters that kind of grab these zombies and they sell them to some medical experiments and all that kind of shit like that in the underground to make money. One is like a big kind of nerd, and he's into like Zilfs, online zombie I'd like to fuck. The other guy is madly in love with his buddy's sister, and he's kind of a doofus, obsessed with wrestling. These are kind of two nerds and everything like that. So they rip off these couple of guys that are supposed to, take this corpse, but they get there first, and kind of a really funny scene because they fuck this corpse up and everything like that. Reminds me of that scene in Land of the Dead when the guy hangs himself in the grove and everything like that and comes back. It's kind of that weird kind of thing like that, but the comedy version, of course. And essentially what happens is they kind of are blackmailed by these guys because they kidnap their grandma and all this kind of stupid shit like that. And at the same time, the corporation's planning something evil because if they make the zombies a bigger threat, they can, come in and make a bunch of money off something. War makes money for people that are in certain powers that have certain kind of ideas like that. You create a situation and then you offer the cure, right? Or you offer, a solution, not necessarily a cure, something that you can constantly keep them paying into it. So give them more power if you create something that you have the solution for or something along those lines. But this is a fun movie. The characters are goofy and silly, and at first I wasn't on board. And I've had trouble with their other movies too. Turbo Kid I liked, I didn't love. Their other one, Summer of '84 is what it's called. I didn't love it. I don't really like it that much. I think it's I love the soundtrack. I love some of the shots and everything like that. A nostalgic kind of feel. I just never connected with the script. I thought the script was kind of sloppy. This one being a comedy, I think you can get away with it more. Turbo Kid, I thought, had a couple of things that I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand that part. Why is it like this? And I feel like I've had like a weird kind of disconnect from their movies. This is the one that I like the best. Maybe it's not the best movie. Turbo Kid's probably the best. But this one I came around to and I was like, I love zombies. And the end's kind of cool too. It has this whole idea of these underground kind of goth people putting the zombies into their parties. And we have a cameo by a very famous person who's now dead, who's come back to life to party, right? But the one thing, a lot of people that watch a lot of different zombie films, maybe they're familiar with stuff like, Shattered Dead from Scooter McRae, which is one of my favorite, if not my favorite SOV movie, where we have that idea, right, of the dead just stop coming back to life, right? They are these people that are a burden on society. They don't eat flesh, but they're just there. And they fuck a lot of things up, and they become a terrorist group in a lot of ways. Some groups do, led by a religious fanatic. And then we have The Last Rites of the Living Dead, aka Zombies Anonymous, which is a really good movie if you see it the true cut, the uncut form. The Last Rites of the Living Dead is the more uncut version of it, where the zombies do eat flesh, but they are also burdens on society, where they have to hide their the idea that they're zombies to continue working and all that stuff, and they become more of a terrorist cell where they actually have brains. And then there's Life After Death, which is similar, where the zombies are coming back and trying to go back into society, but there's no use for them anymore. There's other ones. My Boyfriend's Back as a comedy zombie movie. That's more kind of in the midnight hour vein, right, where you get to come back for one night to do one thing that you were promised or you should have done or anything like that, like go to prom or fall in love or all these kind of things, or get revenge. There's just something about those. But there's a lot of these zombie movies that aren't necessarily the typical zombie film. Even something like Fido is another one that's really bizarre and fun and weird. But I would compare this to something like goofier Shattered Dead, a goofier Last Rites of the Living Dead, or something in the vein of a gorier, grosser Life After Death. It has the vibes of all those kind of movies. I like it. I do not like it as much as Shattered Dead. I don't like it as much as Last Rites of the Living Dead. Probably around somewhere like Life After Death, which I remember being kind of a sweet, fun movie. This is more gory and fun. It had some cool special effects. And overall, I enjoyed the movie. There's a character that's like a cam zombie girl, prostitute, which is fun. And her pimp is fun too. And like when he's giving them all the free kind of stuff, the swagger and stuff. Overall, this is a fun movie. We are zombies. I would recommend it. It's on Screambox. Yeah, check it out. It's fun. Okay, we're going to hop into those 1982 movies.
were all these things, then you just attack me right now. So some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won.
You son of a bitch, you moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies, didn't you? You son of a bitch, you left the bodies and you only moved the headstones! You only moved the headstones! Why? Why?
For a girl like you to come into my life, I've been waiting for a girl like you, who love that will survive. I've been waiting, someone new to make me feel alive. Yeah, waiting for a girl like you to come into my life.
You bitch! You calling me a bitch!
What's in the basket?
How do we know she is alive?
Say, please stop it. There's no more time. You've got to... Please, stop it. Stop it now. Turn it off. Turn it off. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop
Okay, the first one up is Fantasies. It is a TV film, and I watched this, and then it popped up on Hysteria Continues today with Amanda Reyes as a special guest, and I was like, that's great, I'll listen to this as well. And if you want a lot of in-depth analysis and talk about these people in this movie, go there and listen to that. They do a great job, and Amanda Reyes is boss on that kind of stuff. So what we have here is Fantasies, 1982 TV movie with Susan Biscuit. She's an actress that was in a lot of stuff that I'm not super familiar with. The actor who I'm most familiar with in this movie is, of course, Robert Vaughn, who's in tons and tons of movies from 1980s. In Dr. Franken, he's in Chud 2, of course. He's in the Magnificent Seven, Legend of Battle Beyond the Stars. Robert Vaughn's in a million movies. He's a great actor, very very memorable actor. Plays lightweight scumbag really well, as they point out in the podcast. But so what we have here is this female writer who wrote this really great kind of soap opera that's very popular. And in the very beginning, this guy is watching the show, and he's the main star of the show, and he's having this girl watch, and she's like, "Oh, that's great." And then he's like, "All right, now you watched," and he gets his like ego fulfilled. He's like, "You can go now." She's like, "What the fuck?" He ends up getting murdered, brutally gets hit in the back of the head with something we don't see who did it, and they don't really think much of a coincidence. Barry Newman is a police officer. He comes involved. He's from Fear is the Key. And he comes in and he's wondering what's going on, and he starts to hit it off with Suzanne. So you're like, is he the red herring? We have a old husband in the picture. Is he a red herring? We have the boss Robert Vaughn. Is he setting it up to get a kind of publicity? Is he a red herring? We have some other characters that are popping up in here. An ex-actor who was fired, who's an asshole. So another actor ends up dead, and we're like, oh shit, now what's going on? We see the writer's room, which is kind of fun because there's a lot of quirky characters in here, including John from Day of the Dead. Terry Alexander is in there, and I was like, oh, it's great to see him in there. One of my favorite movies. Day of the Dead, my favorite movie, actually, and he's great. He's good in this. He's great in that. So, yeah, and what happens is we kind of slow down after a few kills, and there's a couple attempts on her life and everything like that. And there's this good scene in the very beginning where there's this character complaining about, like filth on television, moral stuff like that. And the title Fantasies kind of plays into that when you see like a person at like the store who's talking to one of the characters, the actors in the show, and it's like, oh, you're going to be fine. Like they start to think it's real. And I know that a lot of people are seeing a lot of delusional people online now and thinking, oh, wow, everybody's gone crazy. But, I do think that there's been a little bit more delusion and weirdness throughout entire society, except now we're just seeing everyone's kind of mental illness right on the forefront on social media and everything like that, and everybody's sharing every bad thing that happens. So overall, I think Fantasies is solid and good, and I think there's a great performance in the lead here. I think some of the other, I think acting overall is really strong. I think the writing's fairly strong. I think the ending's kind of crap, and the ending brings down the whole thing for me. But I didn't guess the killer. I don't know why. I really didn't think that person was going to be the killer. Overall, Fantasies is worth watching. Solid TV movie. Not a great print exist of it, but I enjoyed it for what it is. I don't love it though. Okay, next one up is from 1982, is The Fake Ghost Catchers, and this is the Shaw Brothers flick, and there's a couple people in this movie that, I guess I'll say the main guy is the guy from Crippled Masters, who has the brain damage, and he plays a goofy, dumb guy here. So him, he works for this old man, and they basically are, shyster kind of ghost people, kind of in the vein of the Frighteners, right, where they have these fake hauntings. He can talk to ghosts in here. These guys actually can't, but they set up these kind of seances where they ripple, like, old ladies off who their husbands have died and everything like that, and then they get this money. What happens in the very beginning of this movie is this guy's cousin is in this graveyard, and these guys are after him because he has this book that's going to incriminate them. They want the book for some reason, and they end up attacking him, and he fights and defends himself, and some blood gets in a coffin and brings back this evil ghost. This ghost goes over and possesses this woman and kills her, and is going after the sister as well, kind of for revenge. And at the same time, this kind of group, this villain is after this guy because he's moved in with his dumb cousin, and they're kind of doing the ghost catchers, fake ghost catchers kind of deal and everything like that. They meanwhile meet Fu Shang as a gambler. Fu Shang was the Shaw Brothers actor who died very young on a tragic car accident. He's in a bunch of their movies, and they meet Fu Shang, who's a gambler, and they're going to help him and everything like that catch money because the ghost who died, the female, wants to get revenge on this ghost and save his sister. So she decides, hey, you take me here or I'm going to haunt you guys and kill you guys. If you don't, put me in this umbrella. And they kind of do this kind of lucky spell where this guy is going to gamble. So these three kind of become this weird kind of unlikely heroes of the movie. There's also another group of goons and gamblers that want that ghost to help them win some stuff, so it gets convoluted. They end up going here and making it to the place, but of course the bad guys show up wanting the writ, so we have this big old battle involving ghosts and stuff like that. Overall, this one's really fun. I really like the lead performance of the dumb guy in here. I just think he's great. I think he's got great comic timing. I think he's got really good faces, and right away I recognized him. I was like, oh, that's the guy. I think he's actually in one of the Taoist movies as well, but he's so good in this, and he's so good in Crippled Masters as well. Overall, I think that The Fake Ghost Catchers is a lot of fun. It's a good Shaw Brothers movie. It's more comedy and fantasy than horror, but it does have some, elements of horror, some evil kind of spooky ghosts doing goofy shit, but I like it. It's good stuff. A lot of spells flying around, and the end thing that they do to try to get rid of the main ghost is all these spells and setting fire and shit. You're like, that's good stuff. That's crazy stuff. Good stunts. Overall, The Fake Ghost Catchers, good movie, recommended from 1982. I don't think I've seen any bad Shaw Brothers movies from 82. We have a lot of good ones, really. We have Curse of Evil. We have Hell Has No Boundaries. We have Human Fucking Lanterns. We have The Fake Ghost Catchers. I think we have a couple more as well. Did I miss any? I know I'm sure there's a couple more that I didn't mention. Hex After Hex is the third Hex, I think. Or is it? Yeah, there's 3 Hex movies, so that are all completely unrelated. So, anyways, this one is a good film. I enjoyed it. Good stuff. Okay, the next one is the Patreon pick, and this is 1947's Out of the Past. This is a film noir starring no other than Robert Mitchum. It's also got Kirk Douglas in here. This is a good film, but everybody knows that it's a classic. It's very beloved for a reason. It has some narration in here. If I'm not mistaken, bizarre narration, or story structure is kind of strange. So, at the very beginning of the movie, we have this character who's driving by, and he ends up stopping in this small town, goes into this kind of deli, and he's like, "Hey, so who's the guy who runs the gas station across the street?" And she starts talking about him, kind of puts his business out there. There's another character kind of sitting there too, is the townie, and we kind of learn that stuff. And it says small, and like he says, "Oh, who runs that?" And he learns that it's somebody that he knows. And there's a great line in here that kind of sets up everything. And she says, "Small world, huh?" And he says, "Or a big sign." And you're like, oh shit, that's such a good, the dialogue in these film noirs is really witty, really clever, really good stuff. So it ends up that this guy knows Robert Mitchum from some past kind of thing, and he's not who he says he is. He has this kind of long, shady kind of past. He used to be kind of a private eye, and him and his partner got involved with this one thing where supposed to pick up this woman and bring them back, and they go to this kind of exotic location, everything like that. He leaves his partner there, and he's supposed to bring them back for 10 grand. She supposedly stole 40 grand, and Kirk Douglas wants him to bring him back. Kirk Douglas is a fucking slimeball in this. He's great in it. I've never seen him kind of do this kind of performance, but he's really good in it. So what happens is he goes there, and of course he falls in love with the femme fatale, and they have this relationship and everything like that. And somebody ends up dead. He kind of gets the fuck out of there, but now this guy's back here, and he's like, hey, I want you to do this other thing for me, and he sends him on another job, and he realizes that femme fatale is now with Kirk Douglas again, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And he goes to this whole thing about tax evasion and all this kind of shit, and he realizes he may be getting set up for something, but he's really clever, and he's always been clever, and Robert Mitchum's great in this, so he starts to plan things out and move things around, and by the end of it, you think he might come out on top, but it is a film noir after all, and it's really tragic and really sad, and Mitchum's great in it, Kirk Douglas is great in it, everybody's good in it. I can't think of the actress's name who plays the main femme fatale, but I actually was really sad and depressed at one point in this movie where I was like, I really wish that he would have got his happy ending. I don't want to spoil anything, but great movie, good story structure too, bizarre and different. Sure it is typical, but it's not straightforward, and it kind of jumps back and flashbacks and everything like that. But overall, good movie, good outside locations, cinematography and stuff like that. I really like this. Out of the Past, Robert Mitchum, good film noir. All right, getting these questions, comments, and concerns. Stephen Crowe, never go on holiday with Tisa Farrow. Haha, Loch Ness is in Scotland, dear boy. I think I did say Scotland, but I might have made a mistake. Either way, I probably lost brain cells watching that movie. Thanks for commenting. I am Trago, strong update. Thanks, Mrparka. Anytime. Jason Bovey, great review of Exuma. Love foreign cinema and Korean films are among the best. You mentioned The Wailing, with I Saw the Devil, The Medium, Train to Busan, knocking it out of the park. All excellent films. Exuma really ratchets up the suspense with Korean mythology and story twist, drawing you in to such a degree you hardly notice a long runtime. 8.5. Great rating. I think I'm like a 9.5 for now. Angelo 150 just came in to say hi. Wonderful as always. Thank you. Way Up Dude gives me like a thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate it. Nick Mua from Belgium. Both Torso and Rosemary's Baby are two of the best horror films out there, even though they are vastly different style-wise. One is more reserved and the other a great deal more explicit, and yet they unsettle me both in different ways. I'm sure you'll enjoy them all more in glorious HD. Questions. If it was up to you to make a box set called Cruel America, which 3 titles would you include? Now, I mean, there's so many movies that I'm definitely going to pick stuff that's not released. Cruel America. Oh boy, that's hard because so much good stuff has been released. If we're talking already released, not worrying about it. Cruel America. That's such a broad subject because you could do so many things like that. Cruel America. You could go very obvious and just put Last House on the Left in there, which would be a good one. But I think you want to kind of show cruelty in like 3 different ways. I would put like a prison movie in there, a really good prison film. I would definitely do that. Like, I would put a movie in where it was just completely unfair, like a poverty-driven movie, and I might put like Last House on the Left on there or something like that, or maybe a war movie or a Western movie. There's a million movies that you could do that with. Cruel America is just something that it's too broad. It's too broad of a question to nail it down to 3 movies. I would need more a distinct kind of thing. As you recently acquired The Howling 2, which film in the franchise is the absolute worst of the bunch? For me, it's Howling Reborn, 2011. I've seen Howling 1, Howling 2, Howling 3, and I know I've seen Howling 6. The other ones I've seen bits and pieces of. I mean, I don't know. Howling 6 wasn't great when I rewatched it, but Howling 2 isn't great either. It's just fun. Howling 1 is so much better than the other ones. They all are kind of equally like stupid and goofy and crappy. Howling 3 is fun, stupid, I remember that, but it's so hard to pick. It's not Howling 1, I'll tell you that. That's the best one. Now that you've been compared to Freddie Mercury yet again, you've been practicing your singing, right? No. So that we can get that Mrparka sing-along episode real soon. Maybe you could even ask Nathaniel, Troy, and Bruce to be your backup singers. Absolutely fucking not. I already embarrassed myself enough without singing. But the only song I would sing karaoke probably is Who Will Stop the Rain by CCR. Seriously, though, another epic episode. Please keep them coming. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you. Kadam 1472. Oh my God, Satan's Baby Doll. One of the few movies our Zoom movie night bailed on. We absolutely got the hardcore cut. No doubt. Very fun movie, but ridiculous. Necrops. Exuma sounds like a winner. I may have to check that one out. Thanks. Keep up the good work. Thank you. And then Ken Coakley. I watched Torso a few weeks ago on my TV in my room in the nursing home. I hadn't seen it in a few years. I was watching the film in the middle of the day and tried turning it off when the nurse would arrive, but it was a little too late. A nurse caught a glimpse and thought it was porno. I stopped watching it and finished late at night. In fact, no giallo until after 10 p.m. Other than the nudity, the movie is really good. The kills were epic and the picture quality is excellent. I can't get Blu-rays because the nursing home gets 90% of my money. So I got a year-long subscription to Arrow TV, which is where I watched it. But Arrow had a great print. I had forgotten how intense the last half an hour is. As soon as Luke Miranda showed up, it got even better. What is it about giallo and dolls? Every time I watch a giallo, there's a porcelain doll with a missing eye. They use scarves for strangulation, reminding me of Hitchcock's Frenzy. Yeah, it's dolls in big time. You know, like Hatchet for a Honeymoon, it has a lot of dolls. And then Killer of Dolls, and then Deep Red. It's a lot of fucking dolls. Now as for Rosemary's Baby, that is a movie that I could have ended up different film. There was a list of different female actresses for the Rosemary Woodhouse role. Polanski initially wanted his then fiancée Sharon Tate for the role, but that was nixed by producer Robert Evans. Tuesday Webb was offered the role but turned it down. Then they considered Goldie Hawn, Patty Duke as well as Jane Fonda. Mia Farrow was too obscure, but she did a film called A Dandy in Aspic, which was a success, so she got the role. Farrow was perfect in the role. She was looked waif-like and exuded innocence and naivety. Those qualities made Rosemary Woodhouse a sympathetic character. John Cassavetes was a great pick for Guy Woodhouse. He was cast after Robert Redford and Jack Nicholson turned it down. Cassavetes comes across as looking sinister, so it's not terribly surprising he ended up in cahoots with the senior Satanist. I always wondered why they did nothing with when evidence pointed to those old people were up to no good. The scene where Cassavetes was intimidating Ruth Gordon because they could hear her and her satanic pals every word. When Guy and Rosemary was starting to get down, you can hear their satanic chants. I would have stopped. I looked Rosemary in her eyes and said, "Baby, start packing. Something ain't right, and I don't want any of us here when everything goes south." There was a sequel TV movie called 1976 called Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby, starring Steve McHattie as a grown-up Adrienne Woodhouse. By the way, you're going to Sin and Wasteland this year? If you are, I hope you decide to film some of it. At least the Blu-ray vendor tables. Most people who film conventions film the autograph signings alone, never any movie vendors. My favorite video by you was the one where you shot at Sin and Wasteland a couple years ago. I watch it all the time to forget that I am in this madhouse. I'm sorry, I'm definitely going to Wasteland. Maybe I'll try to film something. I always get caught up, and then I feel it's hard to film. Like, you don't want to film people without their permission, even though like it's a venue. But you know, some people get pissed off. Don't want to piss them off. Don't want to be filming a celebrity, and then they flip out, and you're like, I don't give a shit about filming you. I'm trying to film these Blu-rays. But yeah, so I'll try to film something if I remember. But I go twice a year in April and in October. But yeah, let's just do the update here. I know what you're thinking. I'm not going to do the switch to the camera. It's only 5 titles. I picked up the 4K of Rolling Thunder. Great movie. Been a long time. Written by Paul Schrader. Who directed this one? This is the guy, John Flynn, who directed Brain Scan, which is a fun movie. But yeah, great movie. It's been a long time. Then I pick up the 4K of The Great Alligator River. Is it The Great Alligator? Just said Great Alligator River. The UK title is Big Alligator River, if I remember correctly. Sergio Martino. Been a long time since I've seen this movie. Then we have Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker, aka Night Warning. Great movie. Glad to have it on 4K. Both of those are from Severin. And then we have The Nude Vampire by Jean Roland. This Indicator, nice Powerhouse Films, 4K of it. Nude Vampire, which one? 1970. I think I've seen this one. It's a good film. Well shot. And then we have the Demoniacs, sorry about that. Also by Jean Roland on 4K here. So very cool stuff. Yeah, I've been picking up these Jean Roland 4Ks. But yeah, let's get out of here. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. And as always, have a good one.